Hi, I'm Ricka from rickabrandon.com, and today we're going to talk about difficult conversations. Yes, you know the ones that start with, could you come into my office? Close the door behind you, okay? Yeah, those. So I've had possibly thousands of these. I've definitely had hundreds. And they're never easy, nor should they be easy if you are a kind, considerate person who's worried about other people's feelings. But they are necessary, and that's part of being an owner or a manager is you need to kind of put on your big boy, big girl pants and have the conversation. So what I want to talk about today is how you can sort of psych yourself up for these difficult conversations. If you're on the fence about firing someone, I would encourage you to check out my free Reframing Firing course, because that will help you flip your script on that and see it in a new way that will make you realize, oh my gosh, it's not such a terrible thing to do to someone. Sometimes you need to do it for them because they would be happier somewhere else. But today we're just going to talk about difficult conversations where you need to address an underperforming employee or an underperforming vendor, whatever it is. So what I do to get ready for these situations is I map out what I want to make sure I cover. So that is my concern. I have some specific examples of when I've noticed the behavior or where the behavior or the expectations aren't being met. And I have really clear examples. So when I say, you've demonstrated a bad attitude, they say, well, when have I ever had a bad attitude? I could say, well, on Tuesday afternoon in the meeting. I want to be able to have concrete actual things to share with them so they have an example of how they've exhibited that behavior. So I make sure I'm prepared and I kind of script it out in my head. Some people actually physically write it out. I don't need to do that at this point, but that might work for you. But I basically just think about how I'm going to address it. And I do usually like to start with something warm and fuzzy, unless I'm pissed off and I want to be done with them. Then I'm just going right to the you got to improve or we got to move on thing. But most of the time, I like to go into it and say, hey, I just wanted to call you in here. I've noticed this over the past week or so, and I wanted to talk about it before it became a bigger deal. And then you share the concern. And you bring it up, and it's sort of a casual bringing up. It's sort of like your check-in, which I talk about in a different blog and video. But it's a way to say, I noticed. So now I've noticed your behavior not being acceptable, and I need you to make a change about it. And so that is one of the best ways to start that conversation is I've noticed, and then they can respond to it. And don't get upset if they get all pissed off and they are like, that's whatever. People are going to get their feelings hurt and they're going to be embarrassed and all sorts of things are going to come up and they're not going to handle it in the best way. That's just life. That's the reality of it. We can't expect them to be magnanimous and gracious all the time. If they're a complete jerkwad, well, then you need to address that. But for the most part, people are going to have a little flare-up of emotion, and then they're going to come down. And in my case, they almost always cry. I don't know why that is, but they do. So then I just hand them the box of Kleenex, and, they can deal with it. And then we can start talking about what the issue is, because lots of times they're not performing for a reason. And it might be that they're not trained, they have some questions, or it might be that, they're in the middle of a divorce and they haven't told anyone. Whatever it is, you're at least starting the dialogue. And if they're a jerk the whole time, hey, here's the deal. We need to start replacing this person because they're not coming back from this. And now we're moving into a performance improvement plan. And at the end of this, they're likely not going to work here anymore. But if you don't address it, you can't have any idea how they're going to react to it. So again, if they're, momentarily kind of flustered and startled, don't judge them harshly for that. But, if they maintain it for 3 minutes, and more, then that's probably just that they're a weird duck and you should try to move on in your life. So anyway, those are two ways I prepare myself for difficult conversations. And I also look at how would I feel if I was in their shoes? Would I want to have a job that I'm not successful at? Would I want to have a boss who almost doesn't like me because I can't do the job? Do I want to be the coworker that nobody wants to be partnered with because I don't get it? No, I wouldn't want to be that person, and I wouldn't want to be in that situation. So if I liked them enough to hire them, I certainly like them enough to set them up for success. So I hope that helps, and it's always going to be difficult, unfortunately, but just know that if you're prepared and you've sort of thought about what you're going to say and you address it in a way that opens conversation and dialogue, you're going to get much better results than never addressing it at all or waiting to address it until you're pissed off and you blow your top, because that doesn't work well at all either. All right, thanks so much. Have a great day.